Let's do this. But before I play, beneficial information will be thrown up on the screen right there. Gonna want to check that out, look into that. And yeah, here we go. Third game in the series. Boulder, get your butt on. Enter. There's something heavy in the air. Some kind of tension. It's not just silence that follows his pauses. It's expectation. The son of a bitch knows how to talk. Dozens of people listen to Tony's sermon with tears in their eyes. After each pause, they wait, suspense making their pulses race, and Tony knows it. You notice the way he waits before starting certain lines, how he builds up the crowd's energy and makes the most of every silence. Although you've heard his speeches before, you can't help but notice that there's a certain magnetism in his words. You remember that before the storms, Tony had been a used car salesman. Tony, hey. Did you know that the idea that hell is below us was etched into the Western subconscious by a 14th century poem? Tony claims that more than 500 years ago, the devil sat behind Dante Alighieri and dictated the verses of the Divine Comedy to him. You look around, you feel the contained energy, and you know it won't be much longer. Where do you think the tornadoes that plague our county come from? Don't be fooled. You close your eyes and feel the hairs on your arms stand on end. Hell isn't below us. No, not beneath our feet. You crazy son of a bitch. Hell is above us all. People recognize the end of the sermon and you feel like something finally breaks. A huge amount of energy gets released. I love those when it does that. And the clamor is deafening. You wonder if this same crowd could be heard over the passing of an F5 tornado. Trying not to draw too much attention, you walk away from the scene by strolling to the other side of the barn. You light a cigarette and take a few drags. You can still hear them cheering. You grab your head. What were you thinking? You didn't infiltrate the Bahnsen Knights to analyze their leader's sermons? You need to know what happened to Cupra. You think of your partner, of the work of the agency, all the beers you shared. Cupra is the grand godfather of your 3-year-old daughter. The day she was born, he promised that whatever happened to you, he would be there for her. You feel an emptiness in your stomach and try to think of something else. I still can't understand why you smoked that brand, Boulder. Tony! You startled back into the present. You didn't hear him coming. I needed some air. Here, grab the keys. Tony, it's a nice key. It's pink. Shakes the keychain close to your face. You don't really seem to have a choice and grab the keys. Is there something wrong with my Sierra? No, it's not that. Today's sermon was intense. I need you to drive me in my Sierra. What about mine? Should I leave it here? Yeah, don't worry. Tomorrow, a new driver joins the group, and we're going to use the barn for the baptism. A new baptism? This soon? You stare at Tony looking for a sign. Nothing. It's not the first time Tony's had someone drive him in his car, but it's the first time he asked you. Let's hurry before everyone heads out. You walk to Tony's Ford Sierra and get into the driver's seat. I'll sit in the back. Need to stretch my legs a little bit. A bit. You turn the keys and hear the engine roar. Step on it, Boulder. Don't be shy. Nice. Why did he ask you to drive him? Why not ask one of the others? Could it be because he found you near where the cars were parked and just wanted to hurry? And what was that about a new baptism? Based on what you've heard, neither candidate's ready yet. Even though you try to focus on the route, you can't help but think that something is wrong. A doubt forms like a cloud in your mind. That's pretty cool up there. What does Tony know? Tony must be lying down because you can't see him in the rearview mirror. What's Tony doing back there? You can't just drive with your back to someone like him. You push hard against the steering wheel to force your back into the seat. Try to look over your shoulder. Stay in line, Boulder. You look ahead again and straighten the car. Was Tony laying against the rear side passenger? You're sure the voice came from that side? But did he notice the car deviating? The Sierra had barely moved from the center of the lane. Let's talk to yeah. Tony? We don't have to chat, Boulder. What does he mean? Your hands sweat on the steering wheel. Turn on the radio. You don't know what Tony's doing back there, and he doesn't want to talk either. Music might help you think more clearly. You turn on the radio. Static. Turn it to the left. Oh. Oh, yeah. 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 You feel some movement at the back. Okay. Leave it there. Listen. You recognize the song, and a chill runs down your spine. It's an old blues song about betrayal. Love this. I should stay, but I want to hear others. Boulder, what are you doing? Sorry, but you know the rules of the Bahnsen Knights better than anyone. The driver chooses the music. Tony laughs and something about it calms you down. Static. Left. One of your favorite songs come on. And you let it go of the dial. That's okay. I bet it'll get better. Watch. It'll get better. You don't know if it's because of how Tony laughed when you mentioned one of the Bahnsen Knights rules, or because you're listening to the first song you danced to with Ava. Whatever the reason, you start to calm down. Before you know it, you're singing the song under your breath. Come on, Boulder. Louder. Pumped up by Tony's words, you start singing out loud. When you finish, Tony starts clapping. Listen, tomorrow's an important day for all of us. I moved the baptism of the new driver forward because there's someone who's not going to be sticking around. The others were going to take care of him before going to the bar. Who was Tony talking about? And what was this nameless driver done? Would they do to him the same as they did to Cupra? Again, this feeling of emptiness in your stomach. But let's focus on the positive. Tomorrow you'll have your first route exorcism. Happy, Boulder? You try to smile, to hide the shaking in your left hand. The rest of the trip you do in silence. You know that you'll have to do more careful than ever if you don't want to be discovered. There we go. That music was loud. You park near the entrance of the bar, get out and open Tony's door. Tony slaps you on the shoulder and smiles. You enter the bar. Ooh. Tony nods towards the counter and winks at you. Listen to that music. He then vanishes through the door in the back. And Danny's, the beer is free for the Bahnsen Knights. Old Danny had been one of the group's first drivers. After his tragic death, his son Kevin had taken over the bar. Kevin despised Tony and his followers, but even with their differences, he upheld the agreements with the Bahnsen Knights. Does Tony know that Kevin spit in every glass of beer before putting it on the counter? You hear someone swearing to your left and see a group of men walking away from the Glenlevitt dartboard. The dartboard was Kevin's idea. Each customer is allowed to throw one dart a night, but not the Bahnsen Knights. Tony had taken care of that. The Bahnsen Knights can throw as many darts as they want and try to make a Glenn's eye. Okay, I'm going to order a beer. You know he's not going to spit in your glass, but I'm going to go to here, go to the main menu, because I want to leave you wanting more of this demo. It's as simple as that. I will throw that beneficial information back up on the screen right there. So you're going to want to check that out, look into that. And I'm completely addicted to this genre. You probably know that if you've been watching some of the videos lately. But if you like what you see, consider liking and subscribing for more content just like this. where we play both new and old games you may not know about, as well as deals you may not know about in genres that you might just not know about. This was Bahnsen Knights, the demo.